What's poppin', you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Keep It 100 podcast. I haven't done a podcast episode in a while. I've just been keeping up and doing my shorts since I get more views that way. So if you want to watch my shorts, be sure to check those out, and it would be even better if you just subscribe to my channel. But I got to do a podcast episode. Big pay-per-view happening. Excuse me. I just ate. I don't know why I eat before I do these things. Big pay-per-view happening this Saturday night. Israel Adesanya, Alex Pereira, and I came to give you my prediction on the fight. So let's get right into it. What up, though? What up, everybody? In case you are just joining. Now, Alex Pereira, Israel Adesanya. The casuals don't really know Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira and the true story that is premised around this event, that is premised around this fight, that is predicated around this fight. And that is they faced each other twice in kickboxing. They faced each other twice with Pereira getting the better of Adesanya in both of them. I believe one, Pereira won by decision, and I believe the other, Pereira obviously, many people know, some people don't know, Pereira knocked out Adesanya cold, and that was Adesanya's last loss in kickboxing and his last loss before he came over to the UFC. It was literally like a year before Adesanya came to the UFC. He flatlined Adesanya. He absolutely mollywopped Adesanya. He absolutely fucking befuddled Adesanya because I don't think Adesanya thought would happen. So it was big. And, you know, when you beat someone before they come on to a huge promotion and make a splash and really make their name known, and you get looked at as the last guy to beat Adesanya, you're looked at as probably a feared human being. The perfect example of this is Conor McGregor and Joe Duffy. When Conor McGregor was climbing through the ranks of the UFC, defeating Poirier, Dennis Seaver, people were like, man, this guy cannot lose. And many people were looking back, doing their research, thinking who was the last guy to beat him? And it was this random guy named Joe Duffy. Joe Duffy defeated Conor McGregor. And then once he started gaining more notoriety on being the last guy to defeat Conor McGregor before he came to the UFC, he got a UFC contract, and his first fight was against Dustin Poirier. Think about that. You're the last guy to defeat Conor McGregor. You're fighting on the regional circuit this long amount of time, and then your first fight is against Dustin Poirier. He went on to have an okay UFC run, but you guys get the idea. The same thing happened right here with Alex Pereira. Not only that, Adesanya's been winning, and he's been running out of contenders. So they figured, why not bring in the guy to try and dethrone Adesanya? More on that situation later. But the title of this video, and I'm sure that's why you clicked it, which is good for you guys. Why is Israel Adesanya getting boring? And it's just plain and simple. He is getting boring, you guys. I went over this. He is becoming a snooze fest of a UFC champion. Something came up in the build-up to the Oliveira fight that made me think of Israel Adesanya right away. And that was Charles Oliveira fights. He fights to fight. The quote went, Charles Oliveira fights to fight. And the back end of that quote was, he doesn't fight to win. He fights to fight. And Adesanya doesn't really do that anymore. He plays it safe. He's in that lull like Mayweather where, Mayweather's boring. All he does is run. You know he's going to win because he's going to run. That's kind of where Israel Adesanya is at now. He bursts onto the scene, knocking out guys, having viral knockout moments, very good post-fight speeches. He was on the mic a stud. And then he had that fight with Anderson Silva, which was kind of lackluster, but kind of the passing of the torch where, all right, Adesanya can be the new Anderson. But where Anderson succeeded and where Anderson became so beloved is because he finished dudes. He had boring fights for sure, but you could count on your hand how many boring fights that Anderson Silva had. Here, you could count on two hands how many boring fights Israel Adesanya had. Even his title fight loss to Jan Blachowicz. That was kind of a very technical fight until Jan said, you know what, I'm going to use my Polish power, take his ass down, and beat him up for the last 2 rounds, and that's how he retained the title. But my point is, and if you haven't seen my last video on why Adesanya is getting boring, please go check that out. He came on and, like I said, he bursted onto the scene, made a big splash, had a pretty controversial decision win against Marvin Vettori. had a big win against Derek Brunson, had a big win against Silva, and had an amazing, one of my all-time favorite fights against Kelvin Gastelum. And many people thought Adesanya is not only an exciting fighter, but he's a dog. He's willing to put himself in situations to go out there and get the job done. He proved that in the Gastelum fight. Remember that saying he had, I'm prepared to die. And people became fan favorites of Adesanya because of that. Then he went and sparked Robert Whittaker in 2 rounds. He made it look easy. Then the first big knock on Adesanya's career was the fight against Yoel Romero, where, let's be honest, that fight could have went to Romero because Adesanya did close to nothing. He leg kicked Romero to death, and not even that. Sure, Yoel's dangerous, and he fought him smart, but you could chalk it up to probably one of the top 10 worst fights in UFC history. He called out Paulo Living La Vida Costa and really tried to gain that momentum back of he's an exciting, battle-worthy fighter, champion. And Costa was the guy that was going to push the action, push the pace, make it a fight, make Israel uncomfortable. Adesanya was still undefeated at the time. What we got was Adesanya putting on a clinic. And what we got was Adesanya proving why he's one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world today. He chopped down Adesanya like a tree, like that tree that Rocky Balboa chopped down in Rocky IV. That was taller than the Empire State Building, it seemed like. He proved that he is not meant to be fucked with. Adesanya was back. Adesanya was on top of the world. That fight with Costa had 700,000 pay-per-view buys. It was probably the most highly anticipated fight of the pandemic era. So many people tuned in. And what can he top it with? How about going up, trying to achieve what few have done, and that's becoming champ against Jan Blachowicz. And again, that fight was very lackluster. He was minding his P's and Q's to a T to where he really didn't want to engage. He did not want to engage at all. And Jan was just a bigger man. And that's the whole narrative of that fight is Jan was a bigger man. He used his size to his advantage, just took him down, beat him up, and there was no question, Jan retained his title. Adesanya came back down to middleweight, fought Marvin Vettori, and then won that fight. But again, super lackluster. And I know there's a point where you got to sell the fight, but I'm sure people thought, all right, Adesanya was going to get a win. And when he didn't, we left kind of disappointed. It was almost like Francis and Stipe won, where we were certain we were going to get a knockout. And then it turned out to be a dominant, one-sided, not so fun decision. I mean, that's what we got in the Marvin Vettori fight. That's what we got in the Robert Whittaker fight. And that's what we got in the Jared Cannonier fight. Marvin Vettori thought he won. He did not. Adesanya did. But again, it wasn't exciting. The only guy that can truly say he probably beat Adesanya, and there's a little bit of controversy behind, is Robert Whittaker. I might have to watch that fight again, but I don't think Adesanya did enough to win that fight. But like I said, I'm going to have to watch it again. Don't come at me in the comment section. And then the last fight he had against Jared Cannonier, the whole talk, fight week, the whole talk in the months leading up to it was, I'm going for a finish. You walk out with the Undertaker's theme. You walk out with this hat. You walk out with the urn with Jared Cannonier's ashes on it, and you put people to sleep. I was there live at this fight. People were hyped. People thought, again, we were going to get that knockout. But we didn't. We got a snooze fest. People were leaving after the 3rd round. If you're a superstar, if you're this viral sensation, if you're the Conor McGregor, if you're the Jake Paul of the UFC, might be a bad comparison, but the casuals might get it. If you're that guy and you have people leaving after the 3rd round of your fight, I'm sorry, you're just not that guy anymore. You just are not. And I don't know if it was the jet lag and staying up all night partying that got to me, but that fight was honestly putting me to sleep. And I know it takes 2 to tango. Jared Cannonier could have pushed the action, and maybe Adesanya could have caught him and knocked him out. But Adesanya was the one making the promises. Jared Cannonier was just saying, I'm going to do what I can to win. Whether that's grappling for 5 straight rounds, whether that's waiting for the knockout to come to me, I'm going to be a pot shotter. He did not say, I'm going to go out and knock out Israel Adesanya. No. So when you give the fans expectations, and when you give the fans something to look forward to, and it does not happen, you're going to be looked in the eyes of the media as someone who's not as exciting, or pundits like me who think that your fights just ain't going to sell that much. And it's true. Israel Adesanya is receiving more hate now than he has back then. And I thought that day would never come. But in a way, I'm kind of glad it is, because then it could possibly lead to a great fight this Saturday. Alex Pereira, again, knocked out Israel Adesanya kickboxing. And Israel Adesanya, he lapped the division. He did what Kamaru Usman did, John Jones did, all these other great champions. He lapped the division. He rematched Robert Whittaker. He rematched Marvin Vettori. He took on the dark horse of the division in Jared Cannonier. Who else is left? Hamzat Chimaev is uncertain of his weight. He's going to go to middleweight, welterweight. Who else is next? Well, why not Alex Pereira, who made his debut literally 1 year ago, Sunday, 1 year ago today, actually. He made his UFC debut, November 6th. And when he came to the UFC, he was just known again as the guy who defeated Adesanya. But everyone knew he was going to have to really work, go through some true contenders if he ever wanted to sniff Israel Adesanya. He went through a tough contender, not a ranked contender, but a tough guy. He knocked him out in the first round via flying knee at UFC 268. Then he defeated Bruno Da Silva, unanimous decision. And his most notable win was the guy who was thought to be the number one contender should he have lost to him, and that was Sean Strickland. Same night as Israel fought Cannonier, and he absolutely made Strickland look dumb. He made Strickland look bad. Left hook, crisp left hook, knocked him out, sat him down, and then another one. Ooh, it was perfect. Perfect. And that got a lot of people's attention because Strickland is a guy. He's a dog. He is a sleeper himself. And I don't know if it's because he underestimated Pierre, but Pierre caught him slipping up and made him pay the ultimate price. And he opened a lot of people's eyes. People were talking about Pierre's performance that night more than Adesanya's performance, and rightfully so. And many people were like, oh, is that fight next? And I love Adesanya for this reason. If he thinks that a guy can beat him, he goes out there and is like, all right, fight's booked. Let's see if he could put his money where his mouth is. Let's see if this guy can beat me. And that's what he's doing here. He's fighting a guy who he lost to before twice, but now for the ultimate prize, for the prize that every fighter dreams of having. I hate how Adesanya and his team is building this narrative, and a lot of critics, a lot of journalists are building this fight up as he beat me in kickboxing. He's not going to beat me in MMA. Adesanya said that. And a lot of other people said that too. Here's why that statement could not be any more bullshit than it is now. What is Adesanya's style? He's a kickboxer. What is Pierre's style? A kickboxer. Last time I checked, none of these dudes were wrestlers. None of these dudes were jiu-jitsu practitioners. I believe Pierre has a black belt, but he never uses it. Adesanya showed he has some submission skills against Gastelum, but when is he one to pull guard? When is he one to go for a guillotine? When is he one to do a flying triangle? Never. So what is there to say that this fight would not be any different than the previous two? They're both kickboxers, and they're not going to grapple. They're going to kickbox. And Pierre has his number when it comes to kickboxing. Israel's acting like he's going to go and take him down and beat him up, grind him out for 5 rounds. No, he is not. It's going to be the same fight. Now, could the outcome be the same? Absolutely. But it's not going to be this grappling match that Adesanya and his team is making it out to be. That being said, Pierre knows Adesanya more than any other opponent does. I think he just has his number. I do. I think Pierre is going to win yet again. I think he's going to finish him. I do. I think he's going to finish him second round TKO. I think the first round is going to be a feeling out process. If it's going to be Adesanya winning, it's going to be a terrible fight. It's going to be a boring fight. But I think Pierre gets it done. He's going to finish him. He's going to knock him out. And he's tall. He's probably one of the tallest opponents Adesanya has fought. But I think Adesanya's middleweight days are done. I think his time as champion is done. And I think Pierre is going to go in. I think he's going to knock him out, get that belt, and prove that, regardless if it's MMA, kickboxing, Adesanya just doesn't have his number against Pierre. And this is honestly the perfect style to beat Adesanya. So with that being said, Pierre with the dub. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. Comment on who you think is going to win this highly anticipated matchup. It's your boy, Hollywood AJ. I got more fights that I need predictions on. I'm out.